real quick. So, William, are you recording the call just so that we can have something available? Okay, great. Um, so I wanted to run through basically this temporary rate buy down, and Brandon, I'm happy to make this like conversational, or if you got things you got going on in the background, no worries. I can just talk to assume there's a large audience here, but essentially, affordability is the key issue right now because home prices aren't coming down. Rates are now seem to be kind of at least leveling off at high sevens. Who knows? Could go higher. We'll see what happens with what the Fed says tomorrow. Um, and so basically everything is about kind of affordability and inventory. And just wanted to quickly run through this temporary rate buy down because when I talk to first time home buyers, I'm finding that this is really resonating with them, and I'll explain why I think it's a good idea for a first-time home buyer. So let me share a screen here. Let's share screen. And we're going to do a window. All right. So, Brandon, my audience here. So we have basically 4 different types of buy down options. And the easiest one is the 1-0 buy down. So let's say you get an interest rate today of, let's just use 7.5%. For year 1, the client is paying 6.5%. And then after 12 months of payments, the payment will then go up and reflect what the payment would be at 7.5. Year 1-1 is kind of the same thing. It just is. So if it's 7.5, we have 6.5 year 1, 6.5 year 2, then back up to 7.5. A 2-1 is a 2% lower payment. So if it's a 7.5, you're doing a 5.5 for year 1, then to 6.5 in year 2, and then to the full note 7.5 in year 3. So it's kind of this gradual payment increase every 12 months. Year 3 or 3-2-1 buy down is now basically a 4-year. So you have a 3-year, 3% down. So if it's a 7.5, 4.5% for that first year, 5.5% for the second year, 6.5% for the third year, and then starting after the 36 months of payments have been made, year 4 full note rate, so 7.5. So does everyone kind of understand like the basic like premises of the temporary buy down? Like, we can go kind of into the nuances.
Yeah, pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and so when I talk to first time home buyers, what is appealing is basically the monthly payment. And to me, this is the perfect time to actually execute one of these because rates are obviously high, affordability is high, and I think there's a good chance in 3 years, 4 years that the buyer, if they are on top of the market, will have an opportunity to refinance their mortgage. All right, so let's go into just a calculator. Let's just kind of run one with this is like just pretty simple calculator. We'll do one with UWM. So let's just say it's a $600,000 purchase price, and the new loan amount is $540,000, and we'll say the interest rate is 7.75, or let's just make it easy, say 8.00. Okay, and it's a 30-year. Whoops. We can just omit the PMI. We don't care about that for now. And don't need to have the escrow. Number of payments per year, 12. So this is the monthly payment. So not including PMI, taxes, insurance, 3,962 for this scenario. So now we execute the buy down. And what I like about what UWM will allow is they will allow two different sources of funds for the buy down. Not every lender will allow this. So they will allow for seller concessions or a loan level pricing adjustment. So essentially, a client could take a loan where they're getting a lender credit, and that lender credit could then fund the temporary buy down. So it's like taking that lender credit and putting it into the escrow account for the buy downs, or it could be both. For now, let's just say seller concessions. And I think this is kind of important because, let's say you have this deal, it's a $600,000 purchase price. Well, maybe really maybe you could have got it for $590, but the 600 is now getting the $10,000 seller concessions. Now that's going to go towards making those first 2 years or 3 years more affordable for the client. So this is a great conversation to have, because for some clients, this may be a main driver, especially if they're younger, first-time home buyer. They expect their income to increase, as they mature in their career. So helping out in those first couple of years is really probably the most impactful. So we'll hit all options here. And so we'll just kind of go through them. So you have this one. So, and this is great to just put in, these calculator, like I'm happy to send this to anybody who wants it. And it's essentially now the payment instead of 3,962 is 3,592. So like this makes obviously a big difference in that monthly payment. And it's great to go over this with a client because, oh wait, am I not sharing the screen? Are you guys seeing a calculator? Let's see here. Let's see. We want to share a window. All right. Now we got the calculator set up. Okay. So you can see here, this is year one. And then you can go all the way down. Now, obviously, the buy down amount here is $25K. So it may not be able to execute that. But if you can, massive savings for a 3-2-1 buy down for this client. So let me just kind of jump to why I think this is an effective use of seller concessions if they're able to be negotiated. I understand some cases it's not. Because let's say you have it, say market rate is 8%, and if there's let's say $13,133 in seller concessions. So you could take that $13,000 and pay points. You can put that towards the interest rate. So if, just to say the market rate is 8%, well, you can get a new 30-year fix, let's say now at 7.5% or 7.375% using 13K in points. And so permanently you paid for the points, and now that rate is permanently 7.375. The reason why I like the temporary buy down better is because if you pay for points and then we see the market changes and there's a refinance opportunity, let's say in 3 years, the rates are now at 5.5%. Well, obviously that person who has a 7.375, if they can refinance to even just a 6% or even 6.5%, they would benefit, assuming the fees are low enough. So they would end up refinancing their mortgage, and the points that they paid, they never get back. Whereas let's say in this case, using a specific example where there's $13,000 in seller concession. So if you use that on a 2-1 buy down, you're basically taking the concessions kind of up front. So you got a 6% for that year one on the monthly savings. So you're saving $724 a month by having a 6%, and then a 7% on the year two. But let's say if rates fall within the next 24 months, and this borrower ends up refinancing their mortgage, because technically they have an 8% rate. So if rates can go to, let's say, escrow account, and so then it gets subtracted from the unpaid principal balance that you owe. So you don't lose it like how you do with paying points. So it's a little bit of a gamble, because you're kind of thinking, okay, we're at a higher point in the rate cycle, and so therefore I'm thinking then I will eventually have an opportunity to refinance the mortgage and within the next 5 years. If you think that is to be true, then you're much better off applying seller concessions towards a temporary rate buy down than towards points. And I've had this conversations numerous times, and you can imagine for a first-time home buyer, this is a kind of a tricky conversation, because they're like, oh, well, what if it goes up? What if it goes down? But I really think that part of our job as mortgage professionals and real estate professionals is we've seen cycles before, and to know, hey, we might, this might not be the top, but there may be an opportunity. And often first-time home buyers, they're not even thinking about the potential opportunity to refinance. Like, they've never done it before. This is their first home. They think this is just the payment that they're going to have for 30 years. And so that's why I see so many first-time home buyers make the mistake of just paying a crazy amount in fees and points on that first mortgage. And then guess what? They refinance their mortgage 4 or 5 years from now, and they don't get it back. So that's why I really wanted to run this temporary buy down, because it's a great conversation starter with first-time home buyers. It's math, and it's a little confusing, but it's a great way to basically get the conversation going about your monthly payment. So you take this 2-to-1 buy down, and keep in mind they have to qualify for at the full mature note rate. So in this situation, you have to qualify at that 8%, at that 3962. But their payment is going to be the 3237. So if they can really understand that, I find it's a terrific opportunity to really educate first-time homebuyers about making that mortgage more affordable at the front end. So I will pause there. That was 15 minutes. Any questions about temporary rate buy downs? Any scenarios? Any real life examples of where this has been used and either has gone sour or did well? Okay, well, I will make this spreadsheet available to anybody who would like to use it and to kind of play around with it. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but the key takeaway, I would say, are two things. One, this is a conversation starter. Again, affordability is at the top of every first-time home buyer's mind, and probably not even first-time home buyer, just anybody who's buying. So, hey, let's see if we can help make those first couple of years more affordable, and they have to go in eyes wide open. So I don't want to say, oh yeah, this is what it's going to be. They have to know, hey, this will adjust. But I can already see content creation around temporary buy downs. This is a great marketing opportunity. That's the number one. That's one key takeaway. And then the other one is when you compare using the temporary buy down versus taking the funds that you're receiving and applying it towards points. No one has a crystal ball, but I think it's highly likely, given the break-even point between those two options of how long they have to have the mortgage if they pay points versus taking the savings in the first couple of years of the buy down, that a borrower would be much it would be much more beneficial to them to take the temporary buy down, because essentially you're taking all your savings from that concession and putting it in the front of the mortgage, whereas a point, it's for the entire life of the loan. But we're going to see, I think at some point you'll see rates come down from where they're at right now, if you kind of studied any cycles, and it will be a refinance opportunity. So that is the presentation here of the temporary rate. Brandon?
Say, Joseph?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was trying to unmute myself for the last 15 minutes. it wasn't working.
Well, it's a good thing we're selling real estate and not as a company, and not video software here.
Jesus, I guess that's the truth. So yeah, thanks for this presentation, and drilling down a little bit helps me understand and be able to explain it to my clients a lot better. What have you found in your recent conversations with, even though not necessarily first-time buyers, but seasoned buyers? Do they want to do this 2-1 buy down, or they want to pay for points?
Yeah, the reason why I say first-time home buyers, because that's just, I have more experience of doing that just in the last 12 months. But I think this applies to all home buyers, and in fact, I think you'll have a seasoned home buyer will be more likely to see the benefit of a temporary buy down than a first-time home buyer, because they've seen rate cycles before. They're like, oh yeah, I refinanced my mortgage 3 years after getting it. I've talked to so many people who have refinanced their mortgage, who I've helped refinance, and they're like, gosh, I wish I didn't pay all those fees and points when I got the loan in the first place. Yeah, because you didn't have the loan long enough to benefit from it. And if you see, in California, and it's state specific, some states are much more expensive to refinance in, like Maryland and Florida, whereas California is incredibly inexpensive. If you just take away any sort of lender compensation, like essentially title fees and the recording charge, you're looking at maybe $1,200. So you can, if you're just dropping your rate, especially on the loan size, by, 0.25%, 0.5%, you are probably, going to recoup that $1,200 really fast. On your mortgage. So again, a seasoned home buyer has maybe seen that, and they've kind of done that math, and so they're going to be more open to they'll probably understand it a lot faster. I think with a first-time home buyer, it requires a lot of explanation, but I think once they get it, it maybe opens the door to them buying that home when maybe they're a little bit less likely to. So sorry, that was a long-winded answer, but for everyone.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Well, let's. Mac wants to chime in here.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead. Yeah, I can hear you.
Hi. Thank you for the information. Just wanted to run a question about, have you ever had a scenario where a buyer had to pay for this instead of just a seller? Has that ever worked that way, or does that make any sense to do that for a buyer?
So I'll give you the honest answer here, Mac. The temporary buy downs that I've done, I've brokered to Rocket Mortgage. So at my previous company, that's where we're set up to do predominantly most of our business. And at Rocket Mortgage, they won't allow a loan level pricing adjustment to go towards the temporary buy down. It has to be either seller concession or real estate agent concession. But with UWM, they will actually allow the seller concession and also a loan level pricing adjustment. So in preparation for this call, I was actually kind of digging into this, and I learned it today. So to me, it's an opportunity. I just put myself, because part of it, like, I feel like as a homeowner, and I think we need to educate buyers about this, is it's a one-way negotiation. So you have your mortgage payment. If the rates go down, hey, you can just refinance into it. And we just talked about California fees to refinance, very low. Whereas with like a rent, it's probably going to just go up. And so I think it's really scary for buyers to look at the payment initially, but it's a good reminder to them, say, hey, you might actually end up with a lower principal and interest payment. You probably, get taxes go up, but the principal and interest payment, will probably decrease over time. So to answer your question, I've never done it with a loan level pricing adjustment. But if it were me, and let's say there's no seller concessions, what I would do is I would take the highest interest rate available. I would take 8.99 or 9% and try to get freaking, the maximum lender credit. So let's say, it was $25,000 in lender credit. I would put that towards the temporary buy down. And then I would monitor rates like a hawk. And as soon as I feel like it's a good time to refi, then I'd do it. That's how I would do it. But mortgage professionals, see, when you have first-time home buyers, they brag about the interest rate they get because they're worried when they talk to their neighbors that they're getting ripped off. So they're like, hey, did you get, a 7.5? Like, oh, shoot, my mortgage lender quoted me a 7.9. Like, maybe I should buy down points to get that 7.5 like my neighbor did. But if you talk to mortgage professionals, as you probably know, about their mortgage, they like the lender to pay them. So when I bought my condo in San Francisco, I chose the highest possible rate that was available and got an $18,000 lender credit and paid for all closing costs, paid for the property taxes, the insurance, the HOA, transfer, everything. Basically, all I did was put the down payment, and then guess what? 6 months later, I refinanced the mortgage, and it's totally legal. And but again, I don't have an ego tied to the rate because I know that I'm going to look at rates every single day and kind of have a better idea as to when it is to refinance. Now, that strategy also could have backfired. Like if you had this opportunity, let's say in January of 2021 to get into a low rate, well, you probably wish you kind of did that, or rather than taking a lender credit, you got into the lowest possible rate. You paid points then, so it's tough to perfectly time the market. But my general experience is that people are way too overconfident on how long they will have their mortgage, especially a first-time home buyer. That the statistics show that you'll either move or refinance, probably within the first, 8 or 9 years. And so therefore, it probably doesn't make sense to pay so much fees up front because you never get it back. Whereas what I like about this temporary rate buy down, you get it back. Like even if you end up refinancing, you got some money still in the escrow, it just goes towards your unpaid principal.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
All right, well, let's end it here. And again, if anyone wants to, this calculator is available at UWM, or I'm happy to send it to you. We could even brand it with LoanDesk, Joel, if you wanted to do that. And I hope you guys have a safe and happy Halloween.
Thanks much, Joseph. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Joseph.
Thanks, everyone.